and welcome to Rulebreaker. Today we're going to take a look at how to play as the Embers of Muaat in Twilight Imperium 4th edition. These guys are kind of crazy looking things. They're like these little sarcophagi with sun energy inside them or something. They're like these fire elemental creatures made out of ash and gas and stuff. Thematically they live inside a kind of a sun, like a star. And they're really weird looking, and they play quite differently at the start of the game to other players. So let's take a look at what you get at the start of the game. You only start with one technology, which is plasma scoring, which is this one here, which reads: when one or more of your units use a bombardment or space cannon, one of those units may roll one additional die. So that's an additional die when bombarding with war suns or dreadnoughts, or an additional die when using your PDS for defensive purposes. And here's what makes the Embers so interesting at the start of the game. You look here at their starting units. The first one is a war sun. The war sun is this big Death Star TM style monster unit here that does freaking huge amounts of damage. They get one of those at the very start of the game. They also get 2 fighters, which are little dudes for soaking up damage. They get 4 infantry, which are these ground force type units here, little flags for conquering planets, and a space dock. And that's it. So no carriers, no cruisers, no destroyers, none of that stuff. In order to conquer planets, you're going to need to use your war sun. You're going to need to fly that out there with your infantry to conquer planets in the first round, or hang around and build more stuff, but I wouldn't recommend that. You want to be getting out there as quick as possible. So this war sun is going to be flying pretty quickly. So this is your home system here of Muaat. You can see their home system is kind of like a sun. They've got that big war sun there, their space dock. They've got 4 infantry and they've got 2 fighters. Not a huge fleet to start with, but that war sun is a monster of a ship. We'll go into a little bit of detail on that in a moment. Muaat itself is a 4-1 planet. That's 4 resources and 1 influence. With the space dock on there, you're taking 2 plus the 4 to make 6. So 6 production, meaning you can build 6 units from that space dock on your turn. So that's pretty good, actually. A 4-1 is about average, maybe slightly better than average. Having it all on the one card means you're going to have to spend it all in one go, but that's probably okay. Where you are in the galaxy is going to be really important. You're probably going to want to have the supernova thing tile in your hand to start of the game to do a little bit of tactical maneuvering later. But yeah, that's the way they start out. Doesn't look like much. The war sun's pretty intimidating, but they don't have a lot of other stuff, so it's a bit of a give or take there. Okay, so this is the front of the Embers race sheet here. They've got all their units on this side. The differing unit for them is that war sun we already spoke of, this big huge guy. Let's just take a quick look at how that operates. Okay, so it's actually not a standard war sun. It's called Prototype War Sun 1. It's a Muaat war sun, and it has a cost of 12, which is pretty high. It rolls 3 dice for combat, and it hits on 3s, which is amazing. It only has a move of 1, so this is quite low, alright? That's not going to be able to move very far. And remember, at the start of the game you don't have any carriers, so you're only going to be able to move 1 system away from your home system with that. It does have the capacity of 6, meaning you could take all of your starting units with you, all 4 infantry and 2 fighters if you wanted, so you do have that option. That is pretty close to a standard war sun. This is a standard war sun here. You'll notice that they're all the same except for the move 2 and the move 1. The one that the Muaat start with only has the 1 movement, making it a little weaker. So it's not quite up to full power, but having that war sun at the start is very intimidating actually. Let's take a look at the Ember special abilities. That's these here. The first one is actually an action, so you can do this instead of moving, instead of whatever. It's called Starforge. Spend 1 token from your strategy pool, that's this type of token here, to place either 2 fighters or 1 destroyer from your reinforcements in a system that contains 1 or more of your war suns. So at the start of the game you might want to move this guy somewhere, and then if you feel like you need extra ships, you can drop one of these strategy tokens to put in fighters or destroyers. I mean, that's kind of expensive. You don't have to pay the resource cost for this, you just have to spend the strategy token, so there is that, I guess. But the fact that it's only destroyers and fighters means that it's not the most amazing power in the game. It is an action, meaning you can do it to stall if you want to wait your turn before doing an attack, or if you want to wait your turn to see if somebody attacks you, you can hang around a little bit. So that does have that use. That's interesting. Their second special ability is Gaslight Physiology, and that reads, your ships can move through supernovas. Alright, so that's these big red tiles here. Nobody else can pass through these at all in the entire game. This is one of your main things. If you can position this, then that is really cool. You're able to put it in a tactical position between you and an enemy, or near Mechatol Rex or something like that, giving you a little bit of extra tactical maneuverability. The Embers also have this big flagship here, the Inferno. Let's take a closer look at this. Alright, the Inferno, that's this big piece of plastic here. This guy costs 8 to build, it rolls 2 dice and hits on 5s, has a move of 1 and a capacity of 3, meaning you can carry like infantry or fighters around with it. And it has an action, much like the Starforge ability. It's an action. You can do this instead of, you know, activating a system, or instead of your strategy card. And it reads, spend 1 token from your strategy pool, it's this guy again, to place 1 cruiser in this unit's system. So again, similar to the Starforge thing, you're spending one of your very valuable strategy tokens, and this time to put in a cruiser. So maybe you want a cruiser for the next round to zip around really fast to take another system. That could be useful, but overall I think the cost is a little high, considering that the cruiser only costs 2 to build, as you can see here. It's a little expensive, but I guess the stall ability is not too bad depending on the situation. It might save your life. Overall it's not one of the strongest flagship abilities in the game in my opinion. Yeah, not an essential thing, especially when you've got lots of war suns going on. It does have sustained damage, meaning that if you take a hit you can turn it upside down, and then it's not dead, and then a second hit would destroy it. So that's the Inferno flagship for the Muaat. The Embers also have 4 commodities, which is not bad at all. It's pretty good. That's these grayed out resources here. During the trade phase, if you fill up to 4, you're probably going to be a very interesting trade partner. People are probably going to want to be your friend, especially if you've got these things flying around. So yeah, use this. Use your trade goods. You're going to need them for your very expensive units later on. The Muaat have 2 racial texts just like everybody else. The first is the Magnus Reactor, and the second is this upgrade to the Warsun, the prototype Warsun 2. The Magnus Reactor requires 2 red technologies. The prototype Warsun 2 also requires a bunch of red and also yellow, so it feels to me like with starting with plasma scoring that you're probably going to want to be picking up more of these red technologies in order to do this stuff. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Okay, so Magnus Reactor reads, your ships can move into supernovas. So previously we spoke about the special ability here, that you can move through supernovas. That means that you can fly through, but you can't stop. With the ability here, the Magnus Reactors, you're going to be able to stop into this type of tile. So you'll be able to fly a war sun into a sun, hang around, maybe have some stuff with it there, and that will be a place where nobody can attack you, that you'll be able to just fly out whenever you want really, and do some damage from it. That's pretty cool. The rest of the text reads, after 1 or more of your units use production in a system that either contains a war sun or is adjacent to a supernova, gain 1 trade good. So pretty simple. If you build some stuff near a supernova or your war zone, you get a trade good, and trade goods are nice. These little guys here, you can build stuff with them. Pretty cool. Their second technology is prototype Warsun 2. Let's compare that to the standard Warsun. Alright, so there's the prototype Warsun 1, which is like a normal Warsun, just with move of 1 instead of move of 2. The prototype Warsun 2 is quite a significant upgrade actually. it reduces the cost to 10 instead of 12, which is pretty much, it's a big deal. Has the same combat value, which is already amazing. It has a move of 3, meaning you can fly, wow, almost anywhere really with this ship, depending on where it is. If you're in Mechatol Rex in the center, you can almost fly anywhere. And it has a capacity of 6, just like before. It also has the same tech, so other players' units in the system lose planetary shield, meaning that you don't need to destroy the PDS before you can land down there, and it has sustained damage just like before. The bombardment of 3 dice hitting on 3 is also pretty powerful, meaning that the main thing that's really going on here is that you've got that crazy maneuverability from the move 3. That's probably something you want in the game as these guys, is that just to be able to just strike anywhere and scare the living hell out of whoever's against you. The Embers have their own promissory note, just like anybody else. They give it to somebody else on the at the table in order to do some deals. Theirs is called the Fires of the Gashlai. With an action, remove 1 token from the Muaat player's fleet pool and return it to his reinforcements. Then gain your Warzone unit upgrade technology card. Then return this card to the Muaat player. This is bonkers, crazy, powerful for other people. Don't give it to anybody. They can remove your fleet supply, meaning you'll probably have to destroy some ships, and then you're giving them the Warzone technology, which is absolutely ridiculous to be able to do that without having to pay for it. Do not give this to people. You're giving them everything that's good about you, and you're hurting yourself in the process. I mean, if you are absolutely desperate for something, still don't give them this promissory note. It's crazy powerful. I would absolutely not recommend using this one. You don't want other people having Warzones. Warzones is your thing. Utilize that as much as possible. Don't give it away, especially lightly. Alright, that's the Embers of Muaat. This is probably one of the most important things about them. The placement of the supernova is really key. If it goes somewhere that's very tactically beneficial, that's going to help you a lot. Hopefully you'll draw it in your hand at the start of the game. In the unlikely event that it is somewhere useless, that's going to be really unfortunate for you. Having this prototype Warzone it's pretty cool to have it, but remember it can only move 1. You're probably going to want to upgrade to the prototype Warzone 2 before going too crazy with it. Use it as an intimidation tactics thing. If you want to take Mechatol Rex early in the game, that's a really powerful way to do that, and to really be very standoffish. That's probably the best way to play that. I have not seen these guys win, so don't take my advice too much. I don't really rate the flagship either. I would rather save up the resource cost for some more of these, or just a whole mix of other things. It's probably not one of the greatest flagships in the game. I think the Muaat are, I don't know, they're probably a more average race. It's probably not one of the stronger ones. Get some good technology early. Don't be afraid to take Mechatol Rex with this and get early points and try and get a bit of a lead. Otherwise it might be hard once other people start researching things and getting their own war zones and competing with you there. You probably don't want to be in a fight with someone like Sarlacc Nor. Yeah, it's a very situational race, but they're quite fun. It's really cool having this war zone right at the start of the game. And yeah, I hope you have fun blowing some stuff up from the middle of suns and things. That would be really cool. So I hope you got a lot out of this video to get you started playing as these guys. Do come back to see more of the videos. If you have any questions, throw them into the comments and we'll answer them as soon as possible. This has been Rulebreaker, and thank you very much.